Okay, what's up, people? It is Mr. Shadow, and today we're going to talk about something very, very real as we prepare to move out of the US, and that is how our landlord journey has been going. I'm going to show some video content of me handling my duties as a landlord. I'm talking about owning a property, renting it out, and what that looks like when you're living inside the United States, what it certainly will look like when you're outside the US, and some of the sort of troubles that you could land yourself in. Uh, and I have real world stories here to talk about. Okay. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to show the video of, of me essentially talking about an eviction process that I was going through. This was back in 2024. The first time that I had rented my property out. Since then, I have rented it out a second time. All of those first two were me doing it 100% on my own. And then we'll get into the latest video that I recorded just a week ago of me having my house completely cleared out because I have a new tenant who has signed a lease starting next month of this year, 2026. Um, and for this tenant, I am going through a property manager. So I want to show some of the differences, talk through some of the differences, and I thought what better way than to have these two very different points in time here. All right, so let me roll the clip from last year. We'll watch it together here.
So the process shouldn't be too long, but it's still going to take, 2 months. Okay, quick update for the people, whether you care or not. I filed the eviction paperwork. It took me a couple times to have it go through the system. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't hire a lawyer. I did it all myself. But finally got it filed appropriately, properly. So now it's more of a waiting game for like the summons to go out to her. And it's been 5 days, so I'm going to check in Monday with the courts to see sort of next steps. But that's not the interesting part of this story. The interesting part is my tenant did pay me some money this past Friday. Now, keep in mind, she owes me $5,000 plus now court fees of $300 or so, which is 2 months rent plus late fees. And that's not including, like I said, the court fees that I'm, going through to get her evicted. So all said and done, she's probably closer to like $5,500. But for the purposes of what she owes me in terms of rent, it's like $5,000. She chose to pay me $500. She thinks that's adequate for 2 months rent when the rent is $2,800. I don't even know how to react to that. Did I deposit the money into my bank account from my PayPal? Yes. Was I happy or excited? No. Is this going to change anything? Not in my eyes. I mean, I don't understand the rationale, to be completely honest, like at all. Like I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words. I don't get it. So maybe she'll come up with the extra 4,500 here in the next week before a court date. Who knows? I keep posted.
Listen, something I learned: when something goes wrong, when you have to go through an eviction like this, it doesn't just cost you money. Again, paying the HOA and the mortgage while I was living somewhere else and paying rent at the same time, but it also cost me time and effort. I went through this eviction process without using a lawyer. Uh, that probably added some time to it, maybe saved me some money, but there's a trade-off. Also, the level of stress that it caused. Yes, a lot of it financial stress, but just overall stress, dealing with the communications back and forth, it dragging out, not knowing when it was going to close by. There's just so much that happened that truly made it a nightmare. Not to mention that every hour I was spending dealing with this was time that it was taking away from my family time. I just become a new parent. So time taken away from my daughter, my wife, time pulling me away from uh, opportunities to actually make money, to be building up my social medias or working my 9 to 5 job, any of my side businesses that I have going on. It created this push and pull of my time, both personal and business, that was just not worth what it brought in terms of income. Now, eventually, the eviction went through, and I said I've rented the place twice myself, so there was a second time after this, which I'll say did not go smoothly. Uh, the new tenants signed a 1 year lease and ended up being in the apartment or the townhome. It's a townhome for I think 7 months total. Uh, and then they broke the lease. They left early. Now, I did end up getting a bit of a severance there that I had built into my agreement, the equivalent of 1 month's rent to try to give myself some time to get somebody else in there. But one of the reasons, or I should say, the driving force to the reason they left was that I had a major incident. Uh, a toilet seal blew on the second floor. It leaked and flooded through the floor to the ceiling of the first floor. I had to get a restoration company in there to handle the potential water damage, to dry everything out, make sure no mold is growing. And so the tenants just didn't want to live through this process, which ended up taking, if I'm honest, a solid 2 months to rectify fully, going through my insurance company, etc. And so I understood truly. It wasn't their doing. They were actually a fantastic renter. They paid every month on time. I never had an issue with them. So that was not an instance where me doing things on my own, I think, bit me in the butt. But I still, again, had to spend my time, my effort in talking with them back and forth, negotiating the exit date, making sure that I was paid the appropriate funds I was owed, and also talking with the restoration company, setting up the dates, meeting them at various times, allowing them access to the unit, repairing the unit, talking with my insurance company. This stuff dragged on for months, and it cost me the same potential in terms of earnings that I could have been managing that time in a business that was actually paying me, or just again spending that time with my family. So another L in my mind, and a position that I couldn't have really saw the future and said, oh, I can prepare for this. It was just one of these maintenance items that is the cost of doing business when you are a landlord. Difficult spot to be in. All right, now I want to show you what the place looks like today. I'll note that I've gone through repairs, restoration. The place looks fantastic. It's ready for the next person to move in. Here are my thoughts. I am leaving my home. This is the main bedroom here. I'm leaving after almost a little over a decade, actually. Now, I haven't actually lived in this place myself for that entire period of time. The other bathroom here. I've leased it twice. I had several roommates in this room here. It's a 2 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. I've replaced things like This guy that's brand new. I completely redid these stairs that used to be carpeted. Now very nice finished hard wood. I've done a lot. The mural back here on the wall, everybody always loves when they come in to this second floor, large living space. That is another half bathroom in here. Nothing special, but still, this has been home. I feel like a very spacious kitchen area. I know it's a little dark. I'm literally walking out, so I had all the lights off. But a very spacious home. It has been just that home, not really a house, although I have used it a bit as an investment. And I'll say that's, and I'll go down to the last floor. It has been a decent investment, but it's also cost me money. The AC unit is only a year old in there. I also replaced the outdoor condenser that ran me $6,000 or $7,000. So the point I'm making is that I've been here for a long time. This is the final room. This is where my office used to be. The actual front door there that takes you out to the community. But it's time for a new chapter. And although I've attempted to start this chapter previously, rent it out and live elsewhere, that did not go over that well. I'm now in the garage. One car garage, but still decent size. I'm not showing you because I'm trying to find a renter or sell it. I have found a renter. They are moving in February 9th. And so I'm super excited about that because it finally is gonna free up some of my personal capital for us to actually get out of here, go to Central America, South America, Southeast Asia, wherever we land. But I guess I'm making this video as like a closing to an era. That's the way it feels. It's not the same as selling would have been. I think that would have felt a bit more final. No longer will you see me exiting this door making TikToks. Because yeah, I'm moving on. I'm excited. So goodbye. Treat me well. Please, new renters, treat this place well. Pay your rent on time. That's all I got. Okay, so here's the big takeaway. Owning a property while living abroad might sound like a fantastic passive opportunity for you to make some money, turn a profit, and live your best life in another country. And there are cases where I think that may be true, especially if you have a duplex, 3-story unit, multiple units within a single housing structure. I think you're not overly reliant on a single person paying you rent. Your cash flow is not overly reliant on that one person, family, couple, whatever it is. But the reality is that when you have a single family home, it is extremely difficult to actually turn a profit. In my case, upcoming, I still do not plan to turn a profit. So you may be saying to yourself, well, then why do it? Well, the answer here is that in using the property management company that I have hired, they are eating the rest of the available monthly profit. So the rest of the cash that could be coming into my pockets after my expenses are covered is going to the property management company. For me, that is based on these past experiences, well worth it. Well worth it. I would have wished to just sell the unit. Unfortunately, this market is not good for sellers. I tried, trust me. Was on the market for almost a year. I had a single offer fall through that was serious, two more unserious offers, and not a whole lot of showings in that period. Maybe an average of two or three showings total. And that's average, where, certain months I might have had six or seven, others, like a December, I had zero. So unfortunately, this is for me an opportunity to be hands off, maintain the property in the best way possible so that I can move on, live my life elsewhere, and not be so anchored to this property that is still in the United States. I don't have to worry about leaky faucets or blown seals or toilets clogging up, although I may still have to cover the costs of some of these things. Ultimately, I might negative cash flow with owning this asset. My hope is that the US as a country will, in some way, go through a reform, will recover, and that I'll be able to at least take advantage of the appreciation that the house has developed over time, especially if I'm able to hold good tenants that are paying my mortgage so that the interest within the loan is not coming directly out of my pocket, as I am now past the 10-year mark for owning the house. And if you know anything about mortgages, after 10 years, you are heading towards being in the hole and owning a home if you haven't paid it off by that point. So a lot to consider. I'd love to hear questions, concerns, other ways that people are managing their units. But I'm going to say for now, I think the property manager is the correct move, and time will tell. Hopefully, I'll be back with another update. Hope it helps.